Joining us now is Sheitan Atigari with stories trending around the world. Hello, Sheitan. Good morning.
Good morning, Doctor. It's lovely to see you. Good morning, Ayo and Rufai. Let's begin what's trending, shall we? Many on social media reacting to the announcement of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's 3-day visit to France, which begins today. The visit is in honor of an invitation from President Emmanuel Macron. Disclosing this in a statement on Tuesday, the special advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga, said Tinubu will be received on Thursday at the 350-year-old French Military Museum by Macron and his spouse, Brigitte, for initial ceremonies that will dovetail into bilateral meetings. The president would be traveling with his wife, Oluremi, and other senior government officials. Onanuga also mentioned that during the visit, President Tinubu and President Macron would harmonize positions on stimulating more interest in exchange programs that focus on skill development for youths and improving their competencies in automation, entrepreneurship, innovation, and leadership. Let's take some reactions. The first tweet there reads, France again. It's like the Nigerian government's position is one to tour as many countries as possible. Fixing the challenges facing Nigeria isn't bothering this administration. The next tweet there reads, the president loves globetrotting instead of staying at home to address the myriad of problems created by his economic reform agenda. The quality of life for an average citizen has plummeted since he came to power, and majority of Nigerians cannot afford one square meal. Next one there reads, this invitation by the French president is something special, and this is the beginning of greater things to come to Nigeria. It is also recognized Nigeria as an important country in Africa and one that they can't do without. The most populated black country in the world. And finally, another international trip, but Nigerians are asking, how will this visit directly address the pressing issues at home, rising inflation, unemployment, and insecurity? Bilateral talks are valuable, but citizens need immediate, tangible benefits. Give us a full month without trips. And that's my question to the three of you this morning. Do you believe that, I mean, it's a personal invitation from the president, yes, but is it something that is going to change the lives of Nigerians, which is really what the citizens want to know? Doctor?
Okay, let me start as follows. I keep repeating the point that the president is the chief foreign affairs officer of the country. When he goes on diplomatic trips, there must be a purpose. And this is a state visit on the invitation of the French government. Many Nigerians may be cynical because previously we've been hearing the president is going to China, he stopped over in France. Nobody knew what he was stopping over. The president went to the UK. Oh, he suddenly went to France to spend there some 5 days. You know, forcing Nigerians to speculate about whether these are for undisclosed medical trips. But this one is an official state visit. And I think it's important to put that in context. That's the second point. The third point is that it's even in France's interest to look for new friends. You know, France's policy, you know, with the Francophone countries, his former colonies, you know, being shaky, being driven out of Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, more or less in those countries. So what better thing to do in diplomacy than to make friends with Nigeria and to further promote the objectives of the, France-Africa summit. The fourth point that people may need to pay attention to is the academic one, which Professor Bola Akintenewa has addressed in his book, Nigeria and France, 35 Years of Relationship, 1960 to 1995. Now, there was once upon a time, I will be very brief about that Nigeria and France didn't have very good relationship because of this Francophone, Anglophone thing. So this also provides an opportunity to mend fences. And the issues that they are going to discuss, I think they are generally important issues: agriculture, trade, politics, the economy. You know, these are, and we have French companies operating in Nigeria, many of them that are here. So from the point of view of diplomacy, it will be a good thing. Now, Mrs. Tinubu has accompanied her husband, and she's also going to meet with Brigitte Macron, to discuss a number of issues about women empowerment within the rubric of our own program, Renewed Hope Initiative in Nigeria. And I think that the two First Ladies will be meeting at a very auspicious time, at a time when women empowerment is a major issue in France, and it's also a major issue in Nigeria. You remember the case of Giselle Pellico that we discussed with Adefemi Akinsoya, was it yesterday? About how the rights of women to be protected and how, a phallocentric society may well be, a threat to women empowerment. So I think in terms of the subject, the subjects are in order. But what happens thereafter is always the issue, because Nigeria has this very poor habit of having bilateral relations. We sign memoranda of understanding, and then it ends there. People collect their extra codes. The foreign affairs people get the opportunity to travel. They come back, they don't follow up. I hope this will not happen in this case. France, emerging as a strategic partner with Nigeria.
Okay, so good trip. We just need to see results. Ayo?
I think the reason why a number of Nigerians, following from the tweets that you read, well, Musk said it's no longer called tweets, from the ex-post that you read, that is that people don't see the benefits of these trips. And that's why when another trip is announced, there's a lot of criticism and uproar. Just like Dr. Bati ended by saying that it's not just about the, the optics and saying, this is what we're going to discuss and we are signing understandings. It is what is the impact for Nigeria at the end of the day. I've always said it that when it comes to diplomatic relationships, every country goes there with their what is in it for them. And at the end of the day, being able to measure, because this is taxpayers' money at play, we're going to sponsor the president's trip abroad, and every time he travels like that, we sponsor it. So if we're expending money, it's important, no doubt about it. Let us see the benefits of these conversations, not just because best believe that President Macron understands what is in it, what he wants to gain out of this visit. It's not just a friendly gesture because he likes the company of President Tinubu. There's something in it for them. So what is in it for Nigeria? That's usually the challenge that we don't see too much of. And at the end of the day, it just seems like another visit without a lot. And then let me just also pose a challenge to the president. I think it would be great for him to spend as much time traveling within Nigeria to different states across the country, just to feel a sense of the feeling of what Nigerians are going through. Because we often complain of our leaders being out of touch. How can they be in touch when they're often abroad and not able to actually feel the pulse of the people? So travel within Nigeria, travel and understand the people as much as he's traveling abroad. There's nothing wrong with it. It's important. He's leader. He has to do it. But it's also, let's see the benefits of it. I think that's what's most important for Nigerians.
All right, then, impact.
So Nigeria and France has a very checkered and wobbly history. One part Dr. Abati wanted to say that I should enunciate was the first wobbly part was the nuclear crisis, where France did come to test bombs across our land over here, about our deserts, which caused a lot of crisis. The second part was the role France played in our civil war. That's another one. So since then, we've been trying to repair things, and we know the role, importantly, the likes of Foucault, which was like a French emissary, played across Africa and even in Nigeria here, and all of that. So that influence is writ large. But over the years, we've been trying to get some level of, rapprochement, fixing things. And if you date back historically, the French and the British fought for parts of Nigeria during the colonialist days. But as it is today, a state visit, I think the president should do more. And my first point is this, and like Ade Adefeko enunciated in his Business Day article today, very good article, you could go read. Where's our ambassador in France? We're having a state visit. We don't have an ambassador on ground that will soothing things, that will be able to get all of the relationships that we need to get going on. A charge d'affaires cannot do what ambassador will do. So we needed somebody on ground to be able to smoothen things. Secondly, a state visit, how are we going to maximize it? There are many industries out there in France. There's Dassault, the aviation one, Danone, the milk one, couple of other things that we can partner on. In those days, it should be extensive, and that's why you need an ambassador on ground to be able to smoothen that. Yes, you will have some business-to-business deal. And I'm also going to make kudos to Friends of Nigeria, because I was part of their conference in Paris about 2017, 2018. And they've been doing a lot of work of bringing French business in here. But there ought to be so much more work done as regards the government angle. And like you said rightly, Ayo, number one, to be able to get what is in it for us. It's not just about France supporting or business from France coming to partner with our businesses and all of that. You should go one step further. What they'll probably need for us are rich, stock of materials and things like that. In the tech sector, we're having a lot of interface. There's something called Business France, where young tech Nigerian icons are going into France, getting an enabling environment. They're providing an ecosystem for them. But apart from that, what can we also get in trade? That's just it. France as a country today does a lot of trade with us. About close to 10 to 11% of the imports, gets to them from here. But we need a lot more work on ground to be able to facilitate the state visit. And that's why I'm a little ambivalent that we might not be able to get more out of the state visit because we've not done our groundwork. And that's why I beg President Tinubu, get ambassadors into all these countries so we can get better returns on these our visits. Please.
All right, then, very well said, team. But let's move on very quickly now to our next story. Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has suspended his senior special assistant on print media, Mr. Wale Ajetunmobi. This was disclosed in a statement issued on Tuesday by the governor's special advisor on media and publicity, Gboyega Akosile. His suspension comes on the heels of the misrepresentation of facts on his personal X account on a past incident. Akosile noted that the Sanwo-Olu-led administration frowns at any form of extrajudicial punishment and will not be part of any such action. That is not who we are, and that is not our way. In the reported tweet by Ajetunmobi, tweeting as Readwin, which has since been taken down, he revealed that arsonists who burnt down the television Continental station in Lagos during the heat of the 2020 NSAS protest had been hunted down and executed. However, in a follow-up tweet by Ajetunmobi yesterday, he clarified that while the word executed was erroneously used, his tweet was his personal opinion and didn't reflect the stance of his employer or his office. The tweet reads in part, this excerpt was quoted out of context, and there were a series of comments made under the same post, which better explained what was intended. Like I did further explain in the said tweet, no extrajudicial killing was insinuated, and the word executed and was erroneously used and not intended in the context of that casual conversation. What was written in the entire conversation personally reflected my opinion and not the position of any authority or the entity in which I work. The post and other comments have been taken down even before this publication. It's 4 years after, the October 2020 NSAS protests, and we're still getting these little, flurries of information coming in. He has come out to say that, maybe I exaggerated, but Nigerian people are looking towards this and wondering if it's indeed true. Rufai.
He should now tell us what he knows about those people. Nobody pushed him to make that tweet. He just went to cast himself, like they say in local parlance. He don't cast. Nobody asked him. He don't cast. So please, he needs to explain further what he means by executed. He needs to explain further. Part of the boys that he said that were those that burnt TVs that had AK-47 in their homes.
Yes.
Because you see, that was how the mortuary one too happened. This was where we sat down, the story came out. And see, for all of those that perpetrated heinous crime in NSAS, I will speak Yoruba. Ashekpamoluwa, ashegbe kan o si láyé. What it means is you can only do things to keep. You cannot do it and say you go scot-free forever. So we need to be able to know the truth. He needs to be able to talk more. It's not about just suspending him. We want information. What happened? What happened to the boy that at AK-47 was caught? Not to say that those arsonists should be supported. Never. You can't go and burn another man's business. You can't, in the thick of the action, burn down places. That is totally wrong. But you should also go through the full wrong of the law. And I will also want to ask, the people from NSAS that are seen in various prisons have been condemned. What happened to them? You see, Sheiton, you have done a marvelous work on the NSAS story. Many people did great work on the NSAS story. But that story has not been completely told. There are still some story we'll get to hear, but time has not come. These things will be coming out small, small, small. But please, they might have suspended him, but he needs to tell us more. Yeah. Because there's something he knows. We didn't solicit the information. He came to tell us. Talk.
I think the suspension is just the beginning. Just like Rufai has mentioned, his statement or his post on X opened up a can of worms. I say this because he said, the latter part of his tweet says that majority of them have been hunted down and executed. What's is there to exaggerate about that statement? That was a clear statement. And I recognize that a number of people have come out to speak on his behalf, to try and advocate or appeal to the governor to be lenient. But the truth is that if you have someone speaking or is an aide to the governor of a state like Lagos State, especially at a time when there are ethnic tensions and tensions still around what occurred during the NSAS protest period or the aftermath of the NSAS protest period, then this is too much of a careless statement to make as an aide to the governor. If this were a private institution, a private organization, you'd be almost fired immediately. This is gross misconduct. And so I applaud the governor for taking this step to demonstrate that he has zero tolerance to anyone working for him to make such a careless statement that could potentially incite people in the state. And so we should stop begging. That is the problem with Nigeria. Someone does wrong and they'll be begging for him that, and then we'll say there are no consequences for actions. So here, I think a number of people have said this, he's had it coming. He's had it coming. So it's a good move. He wasn't, at least he was just suspended. But then even more than that, it now poses a lot of questions that people have been asking, like Rufai has mentioned. He said, untold stories, gory pictures, so there are clips and images, there's evidence as well. Yeah. Let us see it. Yes. It's just the beginning. That's what I think. Suspension is just the beginning. There is a lot more to come out of this NSAS. We are not yet done with NSAS in Lagos State.
Doctor. Let me start by dealing with, the statement that he issued. Who is this Wale Ajetunmobi? He's a senior special assistant media, right? Yes. That print means media. Print media, yes. Which means that he's a spokesperson for the Sanwo-Olu government. Now, youthful exuberance is not an asset when you are a spokesperson to somebody. Now, one of the arguments he put up is that it's his personal opinion. Now, when you speak for a government or for an individual, you don't have a personal opinion. Don't say because you have access to Twitter or X, as they call it, you can go and do what you like there. The first thing we have seen here is the danger of, this small instrument that children don't understand how it works. They just use it anyhow. Unless you have proper discernment, you can blow up the entire state. What did he say here? He categorically admitted, saying it is his personal opinion, that the Lagos State government committed extrajudicial killing. Now, extrajudicial killing is something we have always complained about here. Even if you commit murder, if you go and kill that person, that's called jungle justice. You'll be guilty. It's only a court of law that can determine that this person has committed murder and this is the proper punishment. Even the lawyers can go there and plead provocation, which is a defense under criminal law. In fact, there may be circumstances in which murder, premeditated murder, may be reduced to manslaughter. And then you have a spokesperson of the government coming forward to say some people went and burned down TVC, so they were hunted down and executed. It's very bad optics for the government. That's number one. Number two is that the Lagos State government, in their communication process, do they have a clearing process, a fact-checking process? Because even when you work for government, you can't just go and say something to the public. What kind of system do they have? Who is the clearing officer? Even if they have given you a title SSA, that does not give you the right to go and issue a statement. Because this is government. So how is it so powerful that you could just make reckless statements in that manner? Now he has created a situation for the Lagos State government. People are now asking for more investigation. They are saying there must be some hidden truths. After all, it's in that ecosystem. What he knows, they say they need to know. Yes. Number four is that the government acted rightly by suspending him. But I would like to say to Governor Sanwo-Olu, yes, the suspension is in order, but as the leader of the team, as the governor, he should temper justice with mercy. This young man, acting out of exuberance like all kinds of people who spend half of their time on social media, should, pardon him after it is established that he has learnt his lessons. But there must be a clearing house in the communication process. Everybody cannot just be speaking from every corner of the mouth.
Dr. But
let's go to our
He knew
next
what
story.
he was saying when he said it.
He
Gave us a leak. Yes. It's not exuberance.
Is he a baby?
The man knows what he's saying. It's not exuberance, please. Because when you say it's exuberance, Dr. Abati, and I'm going to come in here. Yeah. When you say it's we are trying to mitigate the quality of information the man has given out. Don't call it exuberance. He knew what he was doing.
It's just the beginning.
It's just the beginning. You're trying to mitigate the deaths of people. It's not exuberance, please.
Well, let's move on to our next story. The former governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Bello, who is currently being interrogated by operatives of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, over an alleged fraud case against him during his tenure as governor of Kogi State. Bello and others were accused before the Federal High Court in Abuja of conspiring back in 2016 to convert 80 billion naira allegedly obtained through a criminal breach of trust in violation of Section 18A and punishable under Section 53, subsection 3 of the Money Laundering Prohibition Act 2011 as amended. The ex-governor has denied all allegations and had initially failed to appear in court despite a bench warrant for his arrest and an order requiring him to be present himself for arraignment. Finally, Yahaya Bello, whether he was arrested in the car park, whether he presented himself, whether they caught him on the street, he's now in EFCC custody with 3 of his lawyers. What do you make of this? Is justice really...
The lawyers are in custody?
Yeah,
the lawyers are not in custody.
They're not in custody, but he was escorted, like you can see in that video, with his lawyer. So,
they're currently in court, actually. So,
whatever happens when Yahaya Bello is in court, without prejudice is what we decide in the court. Yahaya Bello's case has already showed how failed Nigeria is as a country and how unserious we are as regards the corruption fights. And Yahaya Bello's case is an issue that should make every Nigerian weep for this country. A man that was called to come and answer allegations, nobody had indicted him, made a merry-go-round. Shaitan, you and I cannot do what Yahaya Bello has done.
Definitely
but
not.
Because he feels he's bigger than the state, he makes a merry-go-round. And his own sweet time, aided by a serving governor that had immunity, and all of the shenanigans happened, and we just looked at it. So whatever, without prejudice, whatever the court is going to decide, is just an indictment of an anti-corruption fight. It shows we are serious as a nation, and we are a joke, we are a laughingstock. And that's why the world does not take us serious. And for all of those that are blaming Davido is not your problem. I wanted to comment on that. Look at cases like Yahaya Bello. Does this look like a serious country that somebody will be called in for a corrupt case? He'll make a merry-go-round all this while. And you're assaulting Davido. Some people are even coming and say Wizkid is a national. We are all patriots. You are not more patriotic than us. We want this country to work. But if we see evil, let's also say it. Patriotism doesn't mean I can't call our leaders to order when they do wrong.
Ayo?
Not a lot to say because, like I mentioned, he's currently in court. We had quite a robust conversation earlier today about this. But just to see how this will play out, and of course today whether he'll be granted bail, whether his passport would be confiscated or at least held by the courts, and what would happen at the end of the day. But again, like you said, Rufai, it's just like a reflection of how anti-corruption cases are handled in Nigeria. So it's a set of rules for a different set of people than it is for you and I who are ordinary citizens. So don't go and do any corruption, you enter jail. No, there's no merry-go-round for you.
Dr.
Okay, that's very quick
points.
points. The first is, look, that immunity does not last forever. So if you are a governor, you are protected by Section 308. After you leave office, no matter the hide-and-seek game you play, that immunity does not extend to when you leave office, even if you stay in government house. Number 2 is that this whole point is about accountability. In other words, we hope sitting governors will also learn that questions may be asked when you are no longer in office. And the responsibility of persons who lead us is to provide good governance. That said, I think it's also important to insist that the EFCC should avoid the temptation to embark on the vengeance interrogative process, given the histrionics that had attended their matter with Kogi State. Yahaya Bello must be taken through the process. He must enjoy his rights under the law to fair hearing, as stated in sections 35 and 36. The rest is left to the courts to determine.
Yes.
Every accused person is innocent until proven guilty. So people should also desist from media trial.
Definitely. Well, that's a good place to end it. By this time tomorrow, we would have found out what exactly happened in court today.
There was drama already out here. Breaking news.
But that's all I have for you on What's Trending Today.